Do you sometimes feel like you're not getting as much out of books as you should? That you read too slowly, forget too quickly, or struggle to absorb the key ideas? If so, you're not alone. Many people feel this way, even those who love to read. The good news? Reading is a skill that can be improved with the right techniques and mindset. One of the best guides to becoming a masterful reader is the classic book, How to Read a Book by Mortimer J. Adler and Charles Van Doren. First published in 1940, with an updated edition released in 1972, this book remains the leading guide to the art of reading. Its insights are just as relevant and powerful today as they were nearly a century ago. By applying the principles from this book, you can dramatically increase your reading speed, retention, and comprehension. More than that, you can deepen your enjoyment and appreciation of books as a uniquely enriching form of entertainment, art, education, and personal growth. In this video, I'll share some key ideas that have stuck with me from How to Read a Book. I'll discuss the 4 levels of reading that the authors identify and how you can progress through them to become a more skilled and active reader. I'll explain the 4 questions they recommend writing down before starting any book. I'll go over the methods of inspectional, analytical, and syntopical reading and how each builds on the other. And I'll reflect on why becoming a better reader matters so much. In an age of endless distraction and surface-level skimming, my goal is not just to summarize Adler and Van Doren's book, but to bring its ideas to life with examples and personal stories along the way. I'll share some tales from my time in the publishing trenches and the lessons I've learned about how books can expand our minds and enrich our lives. If I can inspire you to pick up How to Read a Book and really put its principles into practice, I'll consider this video a success. Adler and Van Doren argue that there are 4 main reasons we read: for entertainment, information, understanding, and intellectual growth. To fulfill these goals, they break the art of reading down into 4 levels of progression. 1. Elementary reading. This is the most basic level, the one we all master as children in school. It involves reading the words on the page and understanding what they signify. At this level, we can answer the question, what does the sentence say? 2. Inspectional reading. This is basically skimming. The goal is to get the most out of a book in a limited time, to quickly figure out everything the book contains. With inspectional reading, we can answer the question, what is the book about? 3. Analytical reading. This is where things start to get serious. Analytical reading means really chewing on a book, not just reading it, but interpreting, criticizing, and engaging with its ideas. The question here is, what does the book mean? 4. Syntopical reading. This is the most demanding and sophisticated level of reading. It involves reading multiple books on the same subject and constructing an analysis of the subject based on these readings. The goal is not just to understand the individual books, but to develop a deep understanding of the subject they collectively cover. The question is, what is the significance of the book in the larger context of this subject? As the levels progress, the reader becomes increasingly active, going from a passive receptor of information to a critical thinker who uses books as a launching pad for original thought and intellectual growth. Before even picking up a book, Adler and Van Doren recommend writing down 4 key questions that you should keep in mind as you read. The 4 questions to ask of every book. 1. What is the book about as a whole? You should be able to summarize the main thesis and outline of the book in a few sentences. 2. What is being said in detail and how? You should be able to identify the key arguments, evidence, and supporting details the author uses. 3. Is the book true in whole or in part? You should approach the book critically, evaluating which of the author's claims you agree or disagree with based on the strength of their arguments and your prior knowledge. 4. What of it? Assuming the book has value, you should reflect on its personal significance for you. Why did you read it? What did you learn? How will it change your thinking or behavior going forward? By having these questions in front of you from the start, you prime your mind to really engage with the book rather than letting it wash over you. You turn yourself from a passive reader, waiting to be enlightened, into an active miner of insights, armed with a pickaxe and a map. Let's focus in on analytical reading, since this is the level that unlocks true understanding. Adler and Van Doren break it down into 3 distinct stages. Stage 1. The first task of analytical reading is to figure out the basic subject of the book. What is the author trying to say? What problems are they trying to solve? There are a few rules to follow at this stage. Classify the book according to subject matter. Is it fiction or nonfiction? Science or history? Theoretical or practical? Placing the book in the right mental category orients you to what you can expect from it. Briefly state what the whole book is about. Try to summarize the main thesis or argument of the book in a single sentence. This forces you to cut through to the core of the author's message. Enumerate the major parts and outline these parts in their order and relation. Break the book down into its main sections and show how they fit together structurally to make the whole. This gives you a clear overview of how the author develops their thesis from start to finish. Define the problem or problems the author is trying to solve. What question is the book attempting to answer? What issue is it addressing? Knowing the problem clarifies the book's goal and gives you a reference point to judge its success. By the end of this stage, you should have a firm 30,000-foot view of the book. You know what it's about, how it's structured, and what it's trying to accomplish. Now you're ready to zoom in on the finer details. Stage 2. The second stage of analytical reading involves really diving into the meat of the book and interpreting the author's key terms and arguments. Here are the key rules to follow. Come to terms with the author by identifying their key words and how they use them. Every author uses certain words or phrases in a specific way to build their arguments. Make sure you understand the author's definitions and how they fit into the overall framework of the book. Grasp the author's leading propositions by identifying their most important sentences throughout the book. The author will make bold claims or statements that serve as the foundation for their argument. Make note of these and try to understand how they fit together. Know the author's arguments by identifying them and constructing them out of sequences of sentences. Arguments are more than just single claims. They involve a series of statements that build on and support each other to reach a conclusion. Trace these arguments as they develop over paragraphs and chapters. Determine which problems the author solved and which they did not. Refer back to the problems you outlined in Stage 1. Did the author offer convincing solutions to them? Which problems remain unsolved or only partially addressed? This lets you critically evaluate the success of the book. By the end of this stage, you should feel like you really understand the book from the inside out. You've translated the author's words and ideas into your own framework and measured them against the problems the book set out to solve. You're now in a position to intelligently agree or disagree with the author's arguments. Stage 3. The final stage of analytical reading involves engaging with the book as a communication of knowledge, not just understanding what it says, but evaluating its truth and significance. At this stage, you move from being a student of the book to being its judge. To criticize a book fairly, follow these rules. Do not begin criticism until you have completed your outline and interpretation of the book. Make sure you fully understand the book before passing judgment, so you don't unfairly condemn what you haven't grasped. Do not disagree disputatiously or contentiously. Approach the book as a dialogue, not a fight. Your aim should be to find truth, not to win an argument. Demonstrate that you recognize the difference between knowledge and opinion by presenting good reasons for any critical judgment you make. Don't just state your disagreements, back them up with logic and evidence. When criticizing a book, there are 3 key questions you should ask. Where is the author uninformed? Did they leave out important information that would have strengthened their argument or changed their conclusion? Where is the author misinformed? Did they make mistakes or misinterpret data? Where is the author illogical? Did they make errors in reasoning or jump to unwarranted conclusions? By applying these questions, you'll not only gain a deeper understanding of the book, but you'll also sharpen your own critical thinking skills. The final step is to consider the book's significance. Does the book offer valuable insights or original ideas? Does it change your perspective on its subject? Does it have implications for how you think or live? Books that pass through the crucible of analytical reading are not just read, they become part of who you are, shaping your thinking and enriching your intellectual life. The ultimate goal of reading, Adler and Van Doren argue, is not just to accumulate knowledge, but to grow in wisdom and understanding. It's about becoming a more thoughtful, perceptive, and reflective person. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to lose sight of the deeper value of books and the benefits they offer. But by mastering the art of reading, you can tap into their full potential to expand your mind and enrich your life. So, are you ready to take your reading to the next level? If you want to get more out of your books, I highly recommend picking up How to Read a Book by Mortimer J. Adler and Charles Van Doren. It's a guide that will serve you well, no matter what kind of books you read. Thanks for watching, and happy reading.